she just run around, and I mean, I would chase after her
Yes, sir.
and everything. So, but I always loved it. I always loved it. I mean, I'm not going to have you do it today.
Marsha tried teaching me once.
Oh.
music play into that? Oh, am I supposed to listen for that? Is that my job? I don't.
I've not done anything with the sound before, so I have no clue how that goes.
Getting to the point that is the honest price. If you call, I will answer. If you fall, pick you up. If you call,
There's music playing. It's really low. I don't want to pull it up too much higher because I don't know what it sounds like. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds
Okay. I don't know if right underneath there if they're hearing it really loud or not.
I don't know. I mean, I can hear it soft.
Uh-huh.
trying to get in there by 12:30. Because, I mean, it's already 10 after 11, so.
Used to be okay.
I know.
Just being a
I know. I want to be able to
star.
see them boys.
You can find me most
I
days.
know.
Being fine on my own.
I know. I saw him.
It's funny how everything can change in a moment. It hits you in the heart, and you know when you know it.
I think so. I see Will walking down.
That's where you have the funeral people because they get started when they're supposed to.
Every time I wake up, seeing your sweet
But we're in
face,
no rush.
that's all it takes to turn me inside out. A love song in my head,
Go
you
ahead
and
and
me
save
in
the
this
music.
bed. This is
Turn
what
that
it's
off.
all about.
I don't know how to stop it. Maybe like that. Don't know. I'm gonna put on. And she's on the organ.
Welcome. Welcome to First Christian Church in Bedford. We're gathered today to celebrate the life of Ashley Maxwell. We gather as friends, we gather as family, we gather as church, we gather as community. We gather because she was someone who was very special, who meant a lot to all of us. I'd like to invite everyone to, I guess like the family would like to invite everybody. There's a meal afterwards in our fellowship hall. I encourage everybody to, as you're able, to gather and celebrate Ashley, share those stories that were hear those stories, celebrate those stories that made her someone who's special to each of us and all of us. For those who are looking for extra programs also, I believe we have some extra ones over there. Take a moment and grab one after the service if you'd like one. At this time, I'd like to invite us to join in a word of prayer. Gracious and loving God, we gather today on this beautiful spring day, giving our thanks for your timeless presence among us. You were there in the beginning, you will be there with us in the end, and we come to understand, God, that you walk with us every step along life's journey. We gather today in remembrance of the life of Ashley Maxwell, to celebrate and uphold the joys and memories of her life, so that they may be a blessing to us all and a testament to your great love. We offer our thanks for her presence, for the time that she shared with us, her bright spirit, her friendship, for all good things that she upheld and shared in her life. May we remember together the joys that Ashley brought to us, and may we celebrate all that she has given and shared among us. We ask, God, that you be with us today and in the days that follow. Be with us as we remember. Be with us as we celebrate. And be with us while we grieve. And remind us that while we do grieve, we do not grieve as those without hope. hope in your great love, and that you fold us back into that, O Lord. Gracious God, may you hold us and grant us comfort and peace that passes all understanding. Help us by your Spirit to be assured of your love and your power in our lives, and to trust in that. In your loving name we pray. Amen. I'd like to read a memoriam in honor of Ashley Maxwell that I was asked to read. Ashley Maxwell, of 35, of Bedford, passed away in the morning of Tuesday, March 29th in 2022 in her sleep. Ashley Renee Maxwell was born on February 4th, 1987, in Bloomington, Indiana, to Jack and Christy Spear Maxwell. Ashley grew up here in Bedford. She's survived by her parents, Jack and Christy Maxwell of Bedford, her sister, Megan, married to Omid Maxwell Ranjbar of Zionsville, her grandmother, Laverne Spear of Bedford, and Jamie Blackwell of Bedford, her aunt, Susan Lewis of Bedford, nephews and nieces, James, Jet, Rachel Ranjbar, Claire Ranjbar, Sam Ranjbar, and cousins Brandon Blackwell, Aaron Gratzer, and Maggie B. Lewis. She was preceded in death by her grandparents James Spear, James and Myra Jackson Maxwell, and also her pet dogs Sam, Duke, Elliot, Muffin, and Augie. She was an active member at Bedford First Christian Church, right here, and she enjoyed participating in the choir and bells, running the soundboard and live streaming, as well as being a youth group leader. Ashley worked at Bedford Camp and Conference Center as a lifeguard and cook assistant while in her high school and college. She graduated from Bedford North Lawrence High School and attended the University of Southern Indiana. Ashley worked for SAIC Crane and Hoover's Candy Shop. She was a dedicated adoptive dog mom to Buffett and a beloved aunt, sister, daughter, niece, and friend. She spent her summers attending concerts where she felt truly at home. Ashley, also known as Ducky, had a special way of befriending dogs and cats and caring for a variety of animals. She was an active volunteer and supporter of the conservation efforts of Ducks Unlimited. Interment of her ashes will be done at a later time. There's a lot that we could say about Ashley. Countless stories that make each person who they are. These are but a few words. We're gathered as people who will miss her about like a front tooth. She was someone who's pretty special to this community, to this church, to a lot of folks in a lot of places. May we give thanks for what she has shared with us, and may we honor her by uplifting the memories and celebrating the memories that she has given to us. I'd also like to read the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies, and you anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely it is goodness and mercy that shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. Amen. This time I'd like to invite us to join in song. It's one that the family selected that meant a lot to Ashley. It's Here I Am, Lord. The words will be up here on the screen if you'd like to read them and have the notes as well. It's page number 452 in your hymnal. Family has asked a few people to speak on behalf of Ashley. These are people who are good friends of hers and of the family, and they're going to share some very good memories of Ashley with us today. Would like to invite Reverend Leela Daley forward at this time.
Will and I talked the other day on the phone, and he asked how to describe Ashley and my relationship, and I had to think for a while. Youth minister, mentor, and most of all, friend. We celebrate Ashley the child. Ashley was 9 when Bob and I came to Bedford, and she went all through a youth group here. She was in JYF, and then the junior high Cairo group, and then the high school group. And if I remember right, when we had lock-ins and such, she always had a stuffed animal with her. And so this is just, I bet you've got rooms full. Anyway, she loved her stuffed animals. Then she went away to college, and when she came back, I asked her if she would be the second adult at our youth meetings, because you can't just have a youth meeting with one person. And I see Kylie Nash back there. I don't know what your name is now. Anyway, but she did that for a while when she was a young adult, and that worked very well, so I invited Ashley to do the same. So we met every week, and she helped me out, and as the months went by, she took more and more responsibility, and then when I would have to be away for some reason, she would invite someone to be her second adult, and she would just lead the meetings. So we celebrate Ashley, the youth sponsor. But being a youth sponsor wasn't her only role here at First Christian Church, and the list seemed to grow throughout her young adult life. She was our resident lifeguard whenever our youth group went somewhere. We didn't have to hire somebody. We didn't have to have other places have a lifeguard. Ashley was with us. Ashley was our lifeguard. And she also worked at the camps in the summer. And it was just great to have her in that role. In the following years, she became very close to the kids. She always had a listening ear. Some of the young girls that came to youth meeting would call her, or she'd call them, and they'd share about things that people younger than I probably wouldn't relate to, but so it was good to have her in that role. And then she ran the soundboard here for a while and helped with the live streaming when the church was shut down because of COVID. She was a choir member, bell choir member, a deacon and board member, and she was a faithful worker whenever the youth had the fundraisers. So some of the pictures that I've got up here, I'm not going to stop and explain them, but I think they're self-explanatory. There's one that'll come up through here with cookie grams. The last year we made cookie grams, we made 700. And most of the people from the congregation know that because they helped bake them and deliver them and sell them. Anyway, she was a big part of that also. So we celebrate Ashley the servant. She attended a lot of the weekend youth assemblies, and I'll just tell you about one. It was a Friday and Saturday night, and I had made arrangements, as I always did, for us to sleep on somebody's church floor. Well, I was supposed to call the pastor as soon as we were done with the meeting. So we load up in the van, I call the church, actually it was the minister's home phone number, and no answer. Well, he had stepped out for some reason. This was nearing midnight, okay? And we didn't have money for a motel. nobody would answer his phone. Come to find out, he had forgot to tell his wife that she should be expecting a call. She didn't respond to the number because she didn't know who it was. So we're sitting in the van, we're all tired, we don't know what we're going to do. Ashley says, call Megan and Omid. And I'm like, they're probably in bed by now. She said, call Megan and Omid. So she called them, and they said, sure, come on over. So we had a van load of kids, and Ashley and I don't remember who all was on that trip, but they let us in, and we took over the house, and we slept all over the floors. I think they gave up their bed to a couple of us. And then in the morning, Omid gets up, goes to the grocery store, and by the time we wake up, he's got this wonderful breakfast for us. And that's just because Ashley had enough nerve to call them at midnight and say, can we come over? That's one of my favorite times. We always had a good time, even when things didn't go as planned. Ashley became known as Ducky, and I'm sure that Amber can explain to you how that happened, but some of the kids thought they were her ducklings. And one time we went to New Mexico on a mission trip, and Ashley was working at the time, and she couldn't go with us. So we go into this house that we were staying in, and I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was a yellow duck planter that was in the windowsill of this house, and the kids all noticed it right off and said, she's here. You know, she couldn't come in body, but she's here with us. That was a sign. So we celebrate Ashley, the listener that she was to the youth in the group. Ashley was a seeker, sometimes a doubter, but that's all part of one's journey. At youth meetings, long trips, times of doctor visits and hospital stays, Ashley was always thinking, forming her faith. With each new experience, she learned something new. She was growing her faith, a process that really never ends. And we celebrate Ashley the seeker. When I think of Ashley, I see her as sunshine. Her yellow hair and her glowing complexion were always accompanied by a smile. And it seems to me that she never asked for much for herself, but she gave so much just by being there. She would deny her importance to others as a role model, but she was. Her life of fighting for another day to live will always be part of her legacy. She was a warrior. We celebrate Ashley, that ray of sunshine. A few years ago, I visited Ashley and Christy at a hospital in Indianapolis. That was my first time of driving from the north to the hospital, but I did it. And I noticed then how she had matured and, you know, was taking care of conversation with the nurses and the doctors, and she was in control of her health care, and that was good to see. And it was also good to see how she stepped up into leadership positions in this beloved congregation of hers. So I celebrate Ashley as the young adult and leader that she became. As Ashley's health and that dreaded infection in her lower limbs kept reoccurring, I asked her many times, don't you ever get mad at God for allowing your health issues to cause you to suffer? And she always just smiled and kind of looked away and said, "It's all right." I was mad, and I was questioning God, but she didn't. Ashley, I hope that you are still all right as your pain and suffering are over. We're all right. We're missing you, but never forgetting you. We carry you in our hearts and our memories. We're here to celebrate Ashley, the ray of sunshine, the servant, the friend, the listener, the seeker, the warrior, the leader, and most of all, the child of God.
Thank you. This time I'd like to introduce Amber Kaye.
I don't know how you follow Leela. There's so many of those moments that I was a part of. I've been a longtime family friend of Ashley and her family, and our families have been intertwined for all of my life. She was the kind of friend that if you've ever helped a friend move, Ashley helped me move 3 times. If that tells you. I remember her as a baby in the nursery. A toddler. And as a teen, those were the fun ones, because who doesn't love a teenager? And her young adulthood, and that was when she became Duck. So I'm going to tell the story of Duck. This involved Kurt Lee. He's another church family member and close family friend, and one of our youth leaders. Kurt walked up on a conversation with Ashley and I, and it was one of those angsty conversations. And Kurt was very seasoned in seeing a girl talk happening. In sensing the moment between the girls, he approached very slowly and cautiously. And without asking and without saying much, he looked us over. He looked at Ashley, he looked at I, and he said, "You know what's cool about ducks? They let the water roll right off." And then, just like our mysterious Jedi master, he just walked away and left Ashley and I looking at each other like, "What?" And we giggled, and I said, "You gotta be the duck." So we were the ducks, and I got to be her mama duck. We spent days at Hoover's cooking together and laughing and trying not to get burnt or cut, and usually we did that right after the other. After one of us saying, "Don't touch that, that's hot," the other one would go touch it. Or, "Be careful with that, it's sharp." One of us would get cut right after. We had a favorite TV show that we watched called Supernatural, so we had Supernatural night and family dinners at our house, and I could never tell who was more excited to see Duck come to the door, the kids or our dogs, because our dogs loved her just as much as we did. Duck persevered, and she was an inspiration. And she didn't always like taking a compliment, and if you got that look from her, you knew the look. When she got her first prosthetic, she came to our house, and we sat at the table. She sat there for a second, and she plopped the prosthetic onto the table. She looked at me and she said, well, let's get this out of the way. This thing's ugly and we got to do something with it. So AJ helped name it Eileen. And we painted its toenails, and I thought Jackie and Christy are going to kill me. But she was still Duck. And I am thankful to have known her and loved her. And I am blessed that she loved me and that she called me Mama Duck. Because she loved big. And you knew that she was your friend. So, quack, quack, duck.
Thank you. This time I'd like to invite Maggie B. Lewis forward.
Okay. When describing Ashley, it's hard for me to know where to begin. You see, she wore a lot of hats in my life, so to speak. She was everything from my best friend and a cousin to a confidant and a mentor of mine. Anywhere I needed her to be, she was right there. It was this way since the very beginning. It's been said that when I was born, she followed the nurses out to watch me be cleaned because I was her kid and she was my Ashley. She was one of those people that I could count on every day to respond to my texts all throughout the night and all throughout the day. Whether that text just be a stupid TikTok of a cat meowing at her, or maybe asking her some weird question about life that she didn't know the answer to. She always responded with some witty comment or a funny meme or a gif of a cat dancing. It always varied. But I never imagined a time in my life where I would send her a text and I wouldn't have a reply back in under an hour. I've been thinking about texting her all week about what am I supposed to write? What am I supposed to say? There's so much. But I knew there would be no response from her, which is okay. She was always there before. That's always been one of my favorite things about Ash, that no matter what was going on in her life, she took out time to be there for me and the people that she loved the most. But my favorite thing about her most of all is that she was one of the only people in my life that really looked at me and understood me for who I was. We could give each other the look, which was a side eye maybe or a giggle, and we both knew what each other was talking about. I could make a joke that didn't make any sense to me, and she would laugh along. Her laughter radiated through me, that sly giggle that sounded only a bit menacing, but made everybody around her laugh, was so contagious. We would be together and end up lost in our inside jokes without even having a conversation, just laughter and bits of words here or there that made us giggle. It took no effort for me to sit and talk to Ashley for hours on end. I remember one time we were at Empress Court, and when I tell you that we closed that restaurant down, I think we were there till like 10:30 midnight, or not midnight, 10:30, 11, and my mom just sat there, kept rolling her eyes at me, like, get it on with already, like, we are so lost. And then all of a sudden, her phone rings, and it's a duck sound. And we're the only people in the restaurant, and all of the workers are sitting at a table next to us, and they look over like we were crazy, and we probably were, but we always had fun times like that together. Ever since coming home, it's been really astonishing to me the number of people that have described Ashley as their hero. And I don't say that because this is a far-fetched idea, because I can see exactly why. But I don't think that she ever imagined that she touched the lives of how many people she did. And now, she probably wouldn't love that I phrased it that way, because as many of you know, she hated to be touched. So much to the point that when I was a kid, she wouldn't let me hold her hand in the parking lots. We would be walking through the Walmart parking lot, and she would instruct me to hold the cars as they passed by to make sure I didn't get run over. Now, back then, I thought that was a little weird, and I didn't really know what to say. But as a young adult, we've been able to laugh about it now that I'm not super uncomfortable about it. But we had a lot of these inside jokes that we made all the time, from inside jokes about my mom's Ambien stories that we relentlessly made fun of her for, to silly stories about both of our dogs doing weird things throughout the night, and all the times that we sat for hours just talking about random things about life. We were joking around with each other more often than not. But But when it came down to it, we could always be serious and discuss the happenings of our life. One thing I'm so grateful for in the past year or so is that she had nightly conversations with my mom that happened about 11:30, midnight, depending on if she was tired or not. And we would sit there and just talk about everything going on in our lives. And I had the privilege of sitting in on them a few times, and it was nice to just hear all of the inside jokes that they shared that kind of overlapped with ours, and be able to talk about everything going on in our lives, even if it's the nitty-gritty things that you don't want to talk about, really. It was in those conversations that I learned the most about my cousin and who she was. Just listening to her talk cheered my day up. With everything that she would be going through, she still somehow made us laugh. We bonded greatly during these conversations, just talking about anything and everything that came to mind. And I'm glad she and my mom had that night routine. It's something that means so much to both of us, including my dad, who got to join in on the experience while he was home for a few weeks the past few months. These nightly calls will forever be in our hearts as a fond memory of the relationship we all had with her. One of my favorite memories with Ashley took place this summer. She came over and she had a cookout with Liza, Sarah, and Sid and I had no idea she was going to be there until she showed up. But I was so happy that she did, because it was one of those times that she just sat and listened and watched us all, probably had a lot of questions. But she sat with us, and I was so honored that she took out the time in her life to be there with me. She'd probably say the same about me. I remember I invited her to one of my birthday parties, and she just sat there and she's like, you didn't need to do this, you didn't need to do this. I was like, of course I need to do it. You're one of my best friends. You're always going to be there. Another night this summer, we had a photo shoot with Buffett. I'm sure Presley was the most honored to ever be in a picture with a dog, as she ever was that night. And Ashley definitely laughed at that, because she never thought that anybody could love Buffett as much as she did, but Presley came pretty close, I gotta tell you. But like I said, so many of my memories with Ashley include us laughing together. Her contagious giggle is something that I'm never going to be able to forget, and I don't want to. Her strength is something that continues to inspire me every day. It wasn't always easy for her keeping up that contagious laughter. Let's face it, sometimes she just growled at the world. And as many of you know, that is a very literal statement. If you paid close enough attention, she was probably growling at the minor inconveniences throughout her day. And I can't blame her one bit. Sometimes life gets rough and you need to let your emotions out. But after the growling ended, she would try her best to continue smiling. I try to take that advice now and remember to growl a little bit and let it go afterwards. Breathe in, growl, breathe out, repeat if needed. I had a really hard time condensing these almost 20 years of memories into one talk, so I reached out to my mom for some advice. I was talking about what to write with her, and she pointed out something that really stuck with me. She retold the story of one of Ashley's childhood birthdays. In this particular birthday party, Ashley apparently crawled under the table to avoid being sung to, even though it was her birthday. That was Ashley. And to be honest, if she was here today, something probably would be happening similar. She'd pray under some pew, embarrassed as all get out, that all these people came out to celebrate her. But that's exactly why we celebrate her, and that's why we always have and always will. Because she exhibited every characteristic of someone who is humble, kind, and frankly, an overall amazing person. I, and everyone else that has known her, is very lucky to have such an amazing role model and friend in this world. Someone to teach us that it's okay to growl, lead us in strength every day, be unapologetically herself, and live each day with a little bit of pep in her step. I hope that she is now running with all the dogs in heaven and sharing her amazing earthly values with those surrounding her, just as she did when she was with us. It has been extremely hard for me to say goodbye to my Ashley, but I'm so glad that she's out of the pain that she endured here. Sorry. I worked effortlessly to find something to tie all of my thoughts together and cut this story short. But frankly, I was stumped. So all I can say is thank you for always letting me lean on you when I needed to. You'll always be my biggest inspiration, Ash. And lastly, thank you to everyone here for joining us to celebrate the life that Ashley lived. And thank you for the amazing support system that everyone has provided for me and my family. We appreciate it more than you'll ever know.
Thank you. This time I'd like to invite Ramona Morkudla forward.
thinking, oh, great. She's carrying a bag. She has props. This ought to be good. Give me just a second. I should have pulled this up before I... Well, I've known Jack and Christy and Aunt Susan and Aunt Jamie and Uncle Brian for decades. I was a little bit of a latecomer to the Ashley bandwagon, shall we say. I only really got to know Ashley when I moved back up here in 2014. In those 8 years, the young woman that I came to know as my friend was nothing short of amazing, and we are here to celebrate her life. I want to relay just a few stories and invite all of you to think about the very special times that you had with Ashley over the decades that many of you have known her. One time, in an attempt to surprise her, relatively early after I'd gotten back here, Ashley and I took to each other very quickly. I'm not sure why. Maybe sometimes you just recognize a kindred spirit. That's good. I'm good with that. I was trying to surprise her for her birthday. Jack and Christy and Ashley were, I think, had a doctor's visit in Indianapolis. And I thought, well, I live in Columbus, and it's her birthday, and I'll bet they're going to stop at Zaxby's on the way home in Greenwood because she loved Zaxby's, right? So I coordinate with Jack and Christy and say, hey, I'm going to show up and surprise Ashley. Yeah, it was the coldest day. You know, that's like February the 4th. It's probably the coldest day all winter long. I had a low tire. I decided to stop at the Shell station at the corner of Emerson and Greenwood and fill up my tire. Well, those vans have a problem with the valve stems, believe it or not. The valve stems snapped off. I didn't just have a flat tire. I had a flat tire. And now it's like, okay, now what the heck do I do? Because there goes the surprise. Well, fortunately, Jack and Christy and Ashley were on their way to the Zaxby's, which is right across the street, right? So I call them and say, yeah, I think the surprise is over. By the way, can you help me get my tire someplace where it can be fixed so I can drive back to Columbus? Ashley took it all in stride. She was like, you know what? It's a birthday I'll never forget. And I was like, yep, that is absolutely true. A birthday we'll never forget. Another memory that I have of her is at Chelsea Lee and Steve Cassidy's wedding, because Ashley had not had her prosthetic for very long at that point. There was a little dance floor there, and she loved music. We all know that, right? But she wasn't necessarily about having attention drawn to herself, and she didn't necessarily want to dance. Well, Ramona, the nice person that I am, I was having none of that. It's like, yeah, no, we're going to dance. And so I grab Ashley's hand. Megan, where's Megan? Grabs the other one. Maggie B gets involved in this, and there is picture evidence of this, and there is a picture of me with my mouth wide open, which means probably I was singing to whatever song we were dancing to, and we danced. We danced at Chelsea's wedding. And we had a good time, and so did she. Ashley loved music. She loved it so much that she wasn't about to waste a concert ticket. One year, back in, I don't even remember what year this was, 2017. I don't remember if she was in the hospital or if she just wasn't feeling very well. They had tickets to the Zac Brown Band. She couldn't use the ticket. She texted me and said, do you want to go? I'm like, sure, I'd be happy to go. You can see that this t-shirt's kind of faded. I wear it a lot. Every time I wear this, I celebrate Ashley. She has one just like it, by the way. I bought two, one for her and one for me. And every time I wear this, I celebrate Ashley. Ashley loved to color. She loved the adult coloring books. She loved them so much that she got one for me that I love to color as well. And it has Snoopy and Peanuts and all of his friends in this. Every time I think of this sense of whimsy that Ashley had and how she shared this light with other people, I will celebrate Ashley. She knew I liked to drink coffee and cocoa and things like that. So one year, I don't even remember if this was Christmas or birthday, Ashley bought me this nice big coffee cup with Snoopy's all around the edge in a bunch of different colors. This is my Sunday morning cup. I've been using this for my Sunday morning coffee ever since she gave this to me. Now, this will be a constant reminder of Ashley. I will celebrate her when I drink coffee on Sunday morning. I found a poem from the poet Mary Oliver that's written from the aspect of someone who's thinking about when their time comes. I'd like to read that for you. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut, when death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? And therefore, I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. I look upon time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility. I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular, and each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does towards silence, and each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. Ashley did not visit this world. She embraced this world. She celebrated her life. She wanted all of us to celebrate her life. And on this day when we remember her, I can think of nothing better than to say, Ashley lived.
Thank you. This time I'd like to invite Krista Tahere to come forward. Or stay there. Thank you. This time I'd like to invite Vahid Ranjbar forward for the Baha'i prayer for the departed.
So Megan has asked me to share a prayer and just a few words about how Baha'is view the passing from this physical world. This particular prayer, I'm told, brought Ashley much comfort in handling the unexpected passing of their close friend, Crystal. The Baha'i writings call death a messenger of joy. This is because it is a time when the soul is born into God's kingdom. This physical world we see as similar to the mother's womb, where we grow spiritually until God sees that we are ready. And then we are born into the next world, which is full of light, and the soul realizes capacities which were veiled from us in this physical world. So like a child in the womb, this next world is all around us, and our loved ones are right here with us. And so I'd like to pray for them as they pray for us. O my God, O thou forgiver of sins, bestower of gifts, dispeller of afflictions, verily I beseech thee to forgive the sins of such as have abandoned the physical garment and have ascended to the spiritual world. O my Lord, purify them from trespasses, dispel their sorrows, and change their darkness into light. Cause them to enter the garden of happiness, and cleanse them with the most pure water, and grant them to behold thy splendors on the loftiest mount.
Thank you. This time I'd like to invite us to join in a spirit of song together as we sing We Are One. We'll sing all of that. The words will be up here on the screen. And for those who'd like the notes as well, it's on page 494 in your hymnal as well.
We
As this time draws to a close, we give thanks for the stories, for the memories, for the words of song, for the prayers, for all things that have been offered to celebrate parts of who Ashley has been for us. Again, I invite everybody to share those stories. Share them around tables, maybe over there while you're getting a bite. But share them now and in the days ahead. May we carry the best of Ashley with us in our hearts. If nothing else, as this time draws to a close and we go about taking care of whatever we may need to, go from here knowing that you are loved. You're loved by one another as blessed communities, but above all, you are loved by God. You don't get out of here without hearing that. Take joy in that, take peace in that, take hope in that, and share it with all you meet and greet. Sound good? Amen. Well,
we're going to celebrate, and prayer is going to be jubilant.
It's a good day to be jubilant.